The Southern Hemisphere doesn't always see quite as many racetracks, but Australia certainly provides plenty of them. If you head south to there, then keep heading south. Eventually, you'll wind up at Phillip Island. Let's see how our drivers take to it as we get ready to watch round 10 of the Porsche Owners Club Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is IMSA driver Michael Johnson. Behind the scenes is our director, Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Fast and with every type of corner imaginable, Phillip Island is truly a test for our drivers. Let's get a closer look at it with our track guide.
Welcome to Phillip Island. As the name implies, this track is located on a splotch of land off the south coast of Australia near Melbourne. While there's been plenty of racing here for close to a century, the track's current incarnation has only been around since the late 80s. And this version is a doozy. With only 12 turns spread across the roughly 4.5 kilometers, it's a decently fast circuit. But what really makes this place stand apart is the incredible variety in those few corners. From negative to positive camber, early apexes, late apexes, blind crest, hairpins, sweepers, if you name it, it's probably got it. On top of that, the front stretch tends to offer up a slipstream with its incredible length, but it then forces the drivers into a game of chicken by chucking them into the frightening doing. Corners like Lukey Heights stretches a car's grip to the limit and then shocks you with a sudden downhill braking into MG. Retaining something of an old-school twist, unlike most modern courses, Phillip Island has earth and embankments running along many parts of the track. While it's meant to keep the cars safely retained within the circuit's confines, anyone unfortunate enough to manage to jump them will be faced with a ton of damage for their troubles. A variety of types of racing take place at the track, including motorcycles, lower-level open-wheelers, and touring cars. Possibly the most well-known among those is the Australian Supercars Championship. With the Aussie reputation of having dangerous, difficult, and challenging circuits, Phillip Island certainly holds up to the standard. The beautiful views of the beach and the ocean may lure some of the fans in, but there's no doubt that the incredible racing at this unique track keeps them around.
Well, this is a track probably more well known for its motorcycle racing, Michael, but what a test for four wheels.
Indeed it is. It's 12 turns of motorcycle mayhem, about 2 3/4 miles, 4.5 kilometers, and every corner here is different. You can't really put them together and go, oh, turn 1 is like turn 2 or turn 7. Every turn is different, and you have really different combinations. So the way you have to attack each one is so different. I'm going to be interested to see how people go through Hayshed up into Lukey Heights to see which line they choose through there, and if they stay tight on MG or go wide to try to really get a good launch, because MG essentially is the launch down the front straight. And if you get that right, you can gain a lot of time. So I'm really curious to watch to see how everybody attacks all these corners, because there are several methods to each of them. And I would say in this case, most of those are pretty much on the nose.
Well, before we see how everybody attacks this place, why don't we take a look at our sponsors, which includes Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Game Changer Wealth, helping you become a game changer with wealth. Contact them today at GameChangerBR.com or at 225-664-2565. Now, in terms of the championship, Arnold Roper is still leading things with Chris Walsh behind him by 12 points. And Chris is not here today, so I think that is it in terms of him going for the championship. I don't believe he can have any more drops. Actually, no, I take that back. I think this is his third missed one, so I think he might be able to get away with one more out there and still count for this season. Otherwise, Dwan sitting in third position, then sees BJ Fulton in fourth, where things severely tighten up. Bolton only 2 points behind him, another one back to Kelderman, who has come in late in the season and is not fighting for a championship because he's missed too many rounds, but is definitely taking valuable points away from some of the other drivers. Jad Duncan, then another 5 points behind them as well. So things remaining tight late in the season. Not too many left to go to try and wrap this one up. Can AJ manage to get himself a title this season? As Michael, why don't you talk us through the race details?
Well, we're looking at round number 10 out of 13. This is about to wrap it up. Everybody's in the same car. It's the Porsche 991 GT3R, the 992 version. Now, this is a fixed setup 30-minute race. Everyone is using the exact same setup. The only thing they can change in this car is the brake bias. So if you're not feeling just the right turn in, you have nothing you can do other than change that brake bias. Now, it is a big factor, and I know a lot of these guys spend a lot of time sitting there trying to figure out what the brake bias is for the entire track, and some, like me, change it from corner complex to corner complex. So kind of excited to watch how that progresses too.
Well, right now in the qualifying, we said Kelderman had the quickest time briefly. Well, Jad Duncan has managed to go faster than him now with a 1:27.2. It's less than a tenth of a second between P1 and P2. Dustin Heindel sitting in third with about 0.2 of a second to make up to that front row. So he's got his work cut out for him for sure if he wants to try and catch up to them. Certainly looks like Jad and Ezra are kind of the cars to beat at the moment, at least.
Indeed they are. Jad is really out there. Now, I did some ghost driving earlier, just wanted to see how everybody was doing, and I went out behind Jad, and I got to tell you, he's pretty quick. He's got a very nice line when going through that second corner. So he's quick through the first corner. I was kind of catching up to him, but his entry into turn 2, the way he pulls around there, watch for him to open up a bit of a gap as he comes through there. I'd like to see how Ezra is able to attack him through there, because Jad does like to open that up just a little bit. I think he'll probably go for that little more defensive line if he does stay in this pole. Now, if I recall correctly, I did say a 1:27.2 would be about the pole time. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I want to see somebody clip that, not just to get Jad. I think Jad could even get the probably around a 27.1 at this point, because everybody seems to be speeding up.
Yeah, his last lap, a 32.242. So that was a slowdown lap apparently for him, and is getting back into it as he comes down through the southern loop. Also giving a bit of a tow to BJ Fulton, which could help. Well, it did help BJ. He's actually pipped Dustin Heindel to that third position. Let's see what he can do from here if he continues to be able to reel in those front runners by using that slipstream, as now he'll break into the hairpin of Miller, perhaps one of the more popular places to overtake on this track. And this is Jad Duncan that we're actually on board with in front of BJ Fulton right now, switching back now up towards the highest part of the course through Hayshed and into Lukey Heights.
Yeah, this is a tricky little bit here. You're full throttle through Hayshed, and then coming into Lukey Heights, there are a couple of ways. You can take a tight entry and kind of hug it, or you take that wide entry. You can brake a little bit later, but the car's a bit unstable. I know from experience. Now, here they go through MG coming out, and this is a lift a little bit there or a short shift, but this is essentially full throttle all the way down Gardner Straight. So that exit of MG is incredibly important, and if you lose even 1 mile per hour at the apex there, it affects you severely as you head down the straight. And there's that 27.1 I promised.
Wow. Jad Duncan definitely making good use of those cooled off tires there, is now almost 0.2 ahead of Kelderman, who can't seem to quite nip it down yet, but he is. Let's see, is this his last lap, or is he able to start one more from here? I think this is his last lap.
I think he's on his last lap. Timer is going to run out here. We got about 10 seconds left, I believe, for these guys. About 12 seconds for them to get there. He's not making it to the start-finish before then. But meanwhile, BJ Fulton is on kind of a burner. He looks like he's doing all right. I'm wondering if he can make his way up into that P2. It's going to be hard to get that pole position away from Jad, though. That was a brilliant lap from him.
Checkered flag is out. Larry Haas going to be our first ones to take it. Kelderman will be the next one as we watch BJ Fulton up through and taking a very shallow entry into Lukey Heights. Kelderman's going to hit the line just about now. Is that enough to take pole back? No, it is not. 27.5. That now takes us over to BJ Fulton. Up into Swan Corner, the final swift left-hander here, banked and onto the main straight, but he's made his bed in terms of acceleration up to this point. Is this going to be enough? I'm showing him as 0.3 up on his lap, so I don't think he's going to improve, and no, he does not.
Still a decent lap. If he can run a lap like that at the end of the race, he's going to be in pretty good shape, because BJ is one of those guys who really holds on and blossoms later in the race. He has decent starts, sits right in a good position, but right at the end of the race, he puts on a lot of pressure, as we watch Dustin Heindel going across that finish line for his last lap.
And that's it. That's everybody able to set a lap. Dustin not able to get back to third position. If he can improve one spot, that'll be the first podium finish for Dustin Heindel this season, whereas BJ Fulton already has at least one podium finish to his name back at round 7 of this season. So he's already at least crossed that off of his list, but he'd probably like to do it again since he hasn't had too many so far at this point. A slightly smaller field as well in today's race, Michael, so much better opportunity to try and get some good points.
Yeah, point scoring for everyone except one. Well, I guess you still get them back there, but it's all the way. You still get those couple of points. So everyone is going to be fighting for 9th to get 3 points or more as they look through the fields. But 10th and 11th will score the same points. But I can tell you from experience, 10th and 11th, if they're hammer and togs at the end of the race, they're going to be fighting just for who can say, well, I made top 10.
Yeah, exactly. It's those stats you want to rack up. As Chad Duncan starts it on the pole, Ezra Kelderman will begin from P2. Then you've got BJ Fulton in third, as Dustin Heindel will start this off from 4th. After that, Michael Bolton, as we heard from our Michael, he is a little bit quicker in races compared to qualifying, so halfway up the field, can he make his rest of the way up and steal a win? Dylan Scott will be next to him on that third row. Then it's Ian Roche who starts in 7th. Mark Rondeau will start in at P8. Will Castillo in 9th. And Larry Haas, the last of our top 10. And John Momeyer will be 11th and final car on the field here in today's race. All right, it is slightly overcast out there with about 71 Fahrenheit on the track surface itself. So decently cool conditions for the drivers, but this track has a lot of corners that are long sweepers, Michael, so I got to imagine it is going to abuse the tires a little bit.
Yeah, you get a bit of screaming on the tires, and one thing I like to do, and this is something you can do in the sim, is you can turn up the sound of tires and turn down the other sound. And I think with a track like that, that's a really good sim racing specific trick you can do. When you hear those tires start to just scream a little bit too much, you know just to back off a little bit, and you'll save them and have a little more tire at the end of the race.
I think it was Mario Andretti who once said a singing tire is a happy tire, a screaming tire is an unhappy tire. So yeah, how you tell where that line is, I guess that's after years of an ear for music.
Yeah, I always say you have different forms of energy. You have sound, you have heat, and you have light. If your tires are making sounds, that's okay. If they're making heat, that's okay. But if your tires are making light, I think you've gone a little too far.
Yeah, that's a point of heat that is maybe just a bit too much for tires. Not sure that anybody's ever done that, unless you count smoke, which, I mean, I guess that can come from burning, which could be light, but regardless, semantics here. We'll get down to the racing itself, because pace car is now peeling in, and Chad Duncan now has control of the field with Ezra next to him on that front row, waiting patiently. They go on the green flag for this series, which means they're going to have to wait a long time, as it's usually an extensive wait before it is dropped by Barney the flagman here in iRacing at Phillip Island. You can see how long the straight is before you get to that timing line. And Chad pulling up ahead a little bit. Green flag now waves, and that still managed to catch out Ezra. It looks like down the inside, BJ Fulton is trying to find himself some space and maybe second position. Also a look by Michael Bolton, trying to see if he can get himself onto the podium as they swing through Dewan into the Southern Loop.
Coming around Southern Loop, trying to hug that inside corner. Everybody trying to make sure they protect that inside position. There goes Bolton. He is getting past, that looks like number 7, Ezra Kelderman. Kelderman not having the best of starts. Started off in a brilliant position, but just didn't quite make it happen. However, he is fighting back, only to be passed on the inside. This is some serious action this early in the race.
That was Ian Roche, who absolutely licked the stamp and sent it. And it actually worked, although you could definitely argue it was argy-bargy, because you could see Ezra and a couple others had to take evasive maneuvers to try and avoid being run into. But whether you call it the slide job or just aggressive passing, that moves Ian up into 4th.
Yeah, good move by Ian. We know Ian from races past. He's happy to get in there and scrap a little bit, but generally not too dangerous. I think that move was probably okay. I don't think he'll get a side eye from the stewards on that one in particular.
To move back to Mark Rondeau, still in 8th where he started this race. Dylan Scott in front of him, who's lost a position since the beginning, but they'll cross the start-finish line in anger for the first time. It's Duncan, Fulton, Bolton, your podium.
Yeah, looks like Bolton's going to lose this position to Ian Roche unless he can hold on to it into the first corner as they go around. That looks a little bit wide for Ian Roche going off. Bolton gets a little bit wiggly, holds on to P3. Nice job by Michael Bolton. He's trying to close in on BJ Fulton, though, but with Ezra Kelderman right behind him, that's going to be a bit of a job.
Larry Haas having a spin, unfortunately, coming through the Southern Loop, and thankfully, John Momeyer able to avoid that one. Another big battle coming down into Miller once again. Heindel fending off Dylan Scott. Scott around the outside. No dice on that one. So Ian Roche, I guess when he doesn't have the cars to lean on, a little bit harder to try and make the corner.
It is, yeah. If you can use their tires as well as yours, I guess that makes it a whole lot easier. Twice the grip, but you also have twice the weight, so it's hard to call it for sure.
Saying that, I'm being a little bit mean to him because I don't think he actually made contact there into Miller to make that pass. Regardless, Dylan Scott now in 6th position, trying to see if he can once again make the pass on Heindel. Once again, having to do it the long way around, nearly makes contact with Dustin and has to get out of it.
Ooh, it is getting argy-bargy this early in the race. We still have quite a bit of time left. I'm surprised to see only 6 minutes in that people are pushing this hard. But I guess with that front trying to pull away, I mean, we're starting to get a little bit of a gap there with that front pack. They are trying to open this up as much as they can. I think, yeah, I would probably be a little bit argy-bargy here as myself.
So Dylan Scott has to regroup. Thankfully, didn't fall victim to Rondeau, who definitely got close after that one. We check on Ian Roche, who is back in 9th now, as that is Will Castillo. I think he's going to try and make a move on. He's got the inside to Stoner, but that's the outside down into Miller. That's going to be tough to try and finish the job. He's a little deeper on the brakes, and he pinches down on the orange machine, but it looks like he'll get away with it as Ian moves to 8th.
Yeah, making some fast times there through Stoner as he gets up into Miller. That's some good driving right there.
Yeah, but he almost got burned, unfortunately, and he finds himself at least up one more position. This is really, I mean, Ian's leaving nothing on the table, but I wonder if it's going to bite him at some point with how close he's running these other cars.
You do have an effect of tires overheating here, and especially with the GT3 cars, it's pretty strong. Ooh, we're getting a little Buffalo Gals going on here. This is interesting. What's going on with Dylan Scott right here? This is nice racing.
I mean, Dylan Scott's becoming the Harry Gantz of Porsches. Oh, no! And they make contact. Are they going to get away without getting the wall? They do. A very sketchy rejoin in which Ian Roche picks up 2 spots. So does Will Castillo. No contact with the tire barriers for Dylan or Dustin. But, boy, there's going to be some frustrations between them after that.
That one I think the stewards are going to have a look at. We'll see. Nobody got taken out, but there were definitely positions lost. So I think we're going to see some action by the stewards. Could be at least a view of what happened there, but I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to do too much. I think that's honestly just a racing incident.
So Ezra's down 2 spots from where he started this race. He was on the front row at the beginning, now outside of the podium. Can he try and get one of those back as Bolton and Fulton are actually hanging on to Duncan here. So I don't think Jad's really out of the woods. I think he's still under threat, because if he makes a mistake, it looks like any of them are within range to try and make an overtake. As we're going to take a look at the replay. This is that contact in Swan Corner here, Michael.
Here they are coming up through and just trying to come up. It's pretty tight. I'm going to call that a racing incident. If I were in the steward's chair, I would call that a racing incident. I don't think there was any real intent there. But while we've been watching that, the car you're seeing right there, that yellow one that's just coming off screen, that's P2 Michael Bolton, if I'm not mistaken, right? No, sorry, he is P3.
Yeah.
I thought he had slid up a position there. I just had my my stuff in the wrong order.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And I mean, taking a look at that again and getting another angle, it does feel like the car in front kind of maybe drifted up to the high side a little bit on the exit. But I can't blame him too much, because it feels like that was a bit of a late move for that gap, and he may not have heard the spotter in his ear tell him.
Yeah, I think by the time car right came into his ear, it was already over, because you are full throttle through there, and you are just hanging on for dear life. If you hit the throttle right at the right point at MG and get that early shift to third going through the left-hander after MG, it's pretty wild and hairy, and you're just holding on for dear life. You're really not expecting someone to get their nose in, because you are so far out on that edge that there's just really no expectation for anybody to be there.
Well, we'll see after the race, I suppose, if there's any sort of penalty from that one. Kelderman still stuck in 4th place. Can't get within striking distance. You can see now how far back he is from the onboard. It's about 0.7 of a second. He needs to be much closer than this to really make something happen with the 127 car.
Yeah, Duncan to Fulton, about 0.7. Fulton to Bolton, about 0.7. Actually closed up to about 0.5 now, and still about 0.7 back to Kelderman. So this is a nice little grouping we have up in the front. Mark Rondeau behind them, and about 2.5 seconds off. So he is not in that lead peloton. I think we're going to have a little bit of argy-bargy coming up here as these guys start to get frustrated not being able to get passes. So watch for things to develop probably in about, let's see, we're 11 minutes in. Out of 30, let's call it 15 minutes.
Well, with that Mario Kart helmet that he has on, we'll see if he can get the star and if he can charge his way up to the front, or if he's going to remain stuck here until the end of this race. Okay, on the recovery now for Dustin Heindel. Will Castillo has been playing this quite well. He hasn't had the speed, but other drivers making mistakes has handed him 2 positions since the start. He's up to 7th.
Yeah, decent run for Dustin. I wonder, did any of that come from that argy-bargy? I think some of that may have. That was Dylan Scott and someone else.
Dustin
through the Ian Roche?
Yeah.
It was Dustin, yeah, okay.
Yep.
So those two, still a good position to be in. I think he's got a decent opportunity here, because he's still moving up. Dustin Heindel's moving up on Castillo. I think he has a chance to make this back. Meanwhile, here we are taking a look at Ian Roche. Ian is right up on Mark Rondeau. This is getting pretty tight. This is kind of a similar picture to what we've seen recently.
Exactly. Rondeau holding him back. Ian is actually still up 1 from where he started as well. Clearly has pretty good pace here. Let's see if once again he tries an aggressive move. He's way too far back for a pass this time into Miller, so we're not going to see it here, but could maybe set himself up for an attempt down the Gardner straight into Dewan.
Yeah, it's a good spot to be. Now, I want to say, looks like Rondeau is just getting better exits off these corners. Roche has been able to close him up. He's got a little bit of a draft. He's pretty good under braking. But when you really need to make up time, the place to do it is exiting that corner, and that's what Rondo really has in spades here.
We fly down through MG once again into the braking as the car compresses at the bottom. He currently sits at about 0.5 of a second back from Rondo. With a decent exit, he could maybe close in. He'll have some of the slipstream down the Gardner Straight. It's down to 0.3. Yes, indeed. He is very much pulling him in. They get up to a high rate of knots here, already up to about 160 miles an hour here as they go past the pit exit down into Dewan, but he runs out of racetrack before he can get side by side.
They're really drag limited in these cars. So down this straight, they're going to hit 165, 160. Oh, good pass. That was pretty smart driving by Dustin Heindel right there, getting the nose down inside, knowing that his competitor, that was Will Castillo, I believe, who just went wide for his normal entry, not expecting Heindel to take that dive up underneath him. But that's a perfectly good move. I have done that dozens of times.
Yep, so that'll get him back into 7th. Still trying to make up for that little bit of contact and get forward once again as Michael Bolton. He's reached back the rear bumper of BJ Fulton now. This is for 2nd place. And I feel like he's got to make this one decisive because, yes, we have 18 minutes left here, but they've been so close on pace, these top 4, Michael. I don't think he wants to mess around side by side for too long.
No, I think he's trying to set it up to see that early shift there. He short shifted to 3rd, is exactly the right thing to do. Now he's right in that slipstream. The problem is you just run out of power. You're at the top of your game in 6th gear. Now notice he's popping out there to kind of slow down a little bit. He knows he doesn't want to brake there. Little touch of the brake from BJ Fulton. Is BJ going to come back right? No, BJ protecting that inside, not letting Michael Bolton get up inside there. Now Bolton hitting that apex just right. Unfortunately, so did BJ. So BJ's really minding his P's and Q's, making sure he does not let Bolton get ahead of him.
Oof, and braking hard, almost getting to the back of BJ there into Miller. Almost wonder if he outbraked himself slightly as he loses time slightly coming off of that hairpin. It'll switch back around uphill through Siberia. And yeah, it seems like he's lost a car length or two.
Yeah, easy to do, but you want to make sure you've got enough air going over that big wing on the back as you're running through some of these sections. So I think we'll watch again as they work their way through Haystack. I think it's going to close up, and actually closed up a good bit earlier. Look at how BJ is kind of going a little bit slower through that section. Bolton able to close this up quite a bit.
Rexy, unfortunately, not getting bigger in the mirrors here for Michael Bolton. He's going to have to try again a little bit later, as well as not waste too much time, not just because he doesn't want to lose Jad, but Ezra Kelderman could have an opportunity if these two mess around too much in whatever battle might erupt between them. So definitely an interesting one. It's such a chess match between these top 4 right now that can't seem to shake one another.
Yeah, it's a tough track to try to shake somebody. Basically what has to happen is someone makes a mistake, and you have to be able to capitalize on that mistake. Right now, look, once again, Michael Bolton closing up right under that giant T-tray on the back of Fulton's car. Can't quite close it down enough, though. But also right in front of them, that's our leader. That's Jad Duncan. We're used to seeing Jad pull away when he's in a position like this. And BJ and Michael are not letting that happen. They really want to try to work their way up and take that P1 away. Meanwhile, back with Dylan Scott once again.
And Jad is probably hungry for this win. He hasn't had a victory since the first race of the season. He had 2 more podiums around 3 and 4, but hasn't been back there since. So no wonder he's got a fire lit under him as Dylan Scott continuing to kind of hunt on Will Castillo. But again, I'm impressed. Will is staying a cool customer It doesn't feel like he's at any point really giving anybody, the easy pass. He's making them catch and work on really making the overtake.
As he should. This is racing. This isn't a track day. This isn't, oh, you're faster. Here's a point. Go around me. No, this is racing. You need to demand and earn the pass. You can't just take it.
Closing up on the back of him into the southern loop, but can't quite make the pass into there. Might get something later as he again tries to get on the throttle as early as possible out of the southern loop and into Stoner. Will we see Will once again defend? Oh, it was a little late there. He will hold the middle of the track, and that caused Dylan to have to weave to try and decide which side to take. Still not able to try and overtake on that orange number 9.
Yeah, Dylan doesn't want to make any contact. Any contact you make could damage your car. So it doesn't matter whose fault it is. You end up with a damaged car. So it's better to take that little bit slower lap time and not have any contact, any bent metal on your car. Now, this is one of the funnest parts of this course where you come up here and just hold on to the edge, heavy on the brakes. Notice how Dylan set up far to the left side, hugs the inside. He's going to try to make this pass here. I don't think this is a wise place for it in this car. He's going to really need to look at turn 2 for his best opportunity, but I think Will already made that mistake. He's not going to make that one again.
It looks a little far back to me, though, as we jump up now to Roche on Rondeau. Once again, battle for P5 between the pair of drivers as he gets almost to the back bumper of that gray machine, but doesn't quite touch it. It may have compromised his exit ever so slightly as he's not nearly as tight to the back as he was before.
Yeah, it's a tough place. There are two good ways to get into that second corner. So turn 1, depending on where it pushes you out as you're going through getting through the southern loop, that is really, really difficult to figure out which way is the right one. You have to second guess what the guy behind you wants to do, because if they go wide, you go narrow, they have a chance to catch up to you heading through Stoner down into Honda. Now, if you go the opposite way, we got a little bit of angry here. Looks like Will Castillo was not able to hold on that position. It looks like Dylan Scott has gotten around Will Castillo. Good job.
Went back and checked. It looks like Will dipped his tires off coming out of Siberia. That opened the door, and Dylan finally able to get by. These two have also been fighting back at the back of the pack. Larry Haas and John Momeyer have swapped back and forth, I believe, a couple times already in this race.
Yeah, a little bit of wheels off here and there, but they've remained pretty tight, and these two are having a blast just going at each other. I still think Momeyer wins for best livery. I love his livery.
Yes. Very, very modern art, but yeah, it is very pretty. Hopefully it stays pretty.
Wheels off.
Yeah. As he nearly throws it away coming out of the penultimate turn. And boy, look at how much that hurts without the speed down the main straight. He is now miles behind.
Indeed he is. But if I take a look back up at the front, now that trio +1, so Kelderman's still holding on just a bit, but that trio, everybody's down to about 4/10 and have been for about half a lap. So I'm wondering if we're getting a little bit of tire drag here, a little tire wear. Maybe people are overheating, especially that car you're seeing right there, the lead car of Jad Duncan. I think he may have been overdriving those tires just a little bit, and now the team of Fulton and Bolton are ready to pounce and take advantage of that.
Down to the final third of the race, so they're going to have to start doing something soon here. With a minute and a half, they've only got about 20 laps in this race, so we're on lap 14 now as they cross the line and down into doing once more. Fulton starting to become a serious threat to Jad Duncan. In fact, he shows himself a bit onto the inside of the southern loop. No dice quite yet. This is getting a lot more interesting now.
Yeah, I think Bolton and BJ decided to not push too hard, to stick line astern and catch up to Jad, because one of these three is going to be on the top step of the podium. I'm honestly not sure which one it is, and if he plays his cards right, Ezra Kelderman could end up being there, depending on what happens with these three.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised that you got to take care of these tires. Even in real-world Porsche racing, the Porsche Sprint Challenge that I work on, in their 35 minutes plus 1 lap races, the drivers will talk about needing to hold on to their stuff and just take it easy until the end.
Yeah, you cannot overrun these tires, and it depends on the tires you get. I mean, different series, different tires. Some use Yokohama, some use Michelin, some use Pirelli. It depends on what you're racing. Different tires designed for different things. I remember back in the day we used Continental race tires in the GS and ST classes, and I think the GTD classes as well. Everybody used those, and those were designed to go out, get them hot over about 2 laps, and then just run the ever-living you-know-what out of them, because they could take it. Now, they weren't quite as fast as, say, the Pirelli was. The Pirelli was more of a sprint tire. It was good for 30, 40, maybe 45 minutes. But then you had the Michelin, which you really had to settle in and get your groove, and you could make a couple of push laps, but then you'd have to have a cooling lap. Oh, look at this. Look at this. A push for second place. It looks like, is he going to be able to hold on to this? Michael Bolton up into P2. Nice move, but we're going to have a switchback here coming back through the corner. They are fighting hammer and tongs, and Jad Duncan has got to be loving this.
2 wheels off out of Siberia, but he doesn't lose time like Will Castillo did. Bolton kept his foot in it, somehow keeps the speed. Fulton can't try and fight back as there is just no room at the end into Lukey Heights. Will he try something potentially down the main straight? Yeah, as you mentioned, Ezra now becoming a factor as well.
Ezra loving this as much as Jad Duncan is. Ezra sees his possibility of getting onto a podium as well. He is trying to get as close up under the wing of BJ as he can. BJ Fulton looking at the back end of Michael Bolton's car, just getting farther and farther away. Bolton making the most of that exit out of BJ, out of MG. Too many initials around here, out of MG. I think he just nailed that short shift to third perfectly to get up through there and make that blast down that long straightaway.
I seem to recall somebody telling us that Bolton's a better racer than he is a qualifier, Michael.
Well, it may have something to do with who his coach is.
It's impressive what this 127 can do in the races. Up to second place now, 3 gained from where he started. And just 1 more car, he could get himself a win. But now he's got some time to make up. All of them racing side by side like that cost them about 1.5 seconds up to Jad Duncan.
Yeah, but I think it's, if you're looking at it from Michael Bolton's perspective, absolutely worth it. He feels pretty positive Ezra is going to be putting enough pressure on BJ that he doesn't have too much to worry about. Now, BJ is trying to focus forward, but he's got a whole lot of headlights in his mirrors.
He's checking the stats to see if Bolton has ever actually gotten a win, and I'm not seeing it. He's had a bunch of seconds and thirds, though.
Yeah, I don't think he's gotten that top step, and it's something we've been working on and looking for, and it's always the same kind of stuff. It's the mantra that I preach to a lot of the people I work with. Focus on your exit. If you get the exit, they're not going to catch you down the straight, even if they're better under braking. We can work on braking later. And I think he's really taken that to heart, because look at how much he's opened that up. Just going down that straight. Once again, coming out of MG, able to open up that long straightaway. And he's put a nice about 1/2 second gap between himself and BJ Fulton.
As they head through the left-hander of Stoner once again. Not much change between these second, third, and fourth place drivers. However, let's see what Bolton looks like in comparison to Duncan. That last lap was a 28.6 for Duncan. Bolton, a 28.4, 2/10 quicker. So the signs are good, but does he have enough race left?
Well, he just went a little bit of a 4-wheel slide there. BJ was able to take a little bit of a look-see. However, I think he's opening it back up. He needs to back off just a little bit, cool those tires down about 2 degrees, and if he does that, I think he can maintain this position. Meanwhile, Jad Duncan, he really wants to hold on to this. He's got a 1.5 seconds of a buffer back to Michael Bolton. With what do we have left here? About not long. We've got just maybe 2 laps. Well, let's say 4:50.
3 is
so 3 laps. Yeah. So let's say 3 laps. I think so. 3 laps left here. I think it's going to be hard for him to lose that 1.5 seconds gap. Now look at that. There's Ezra once again making himself known, sticking that nose out. Wants BJ to know, hey, dude, I'm coming for you. I have eyes on you. Look how much he closes it up there coming into turn 2.
So here's the interesting thing. The previous 2 laps, Bolton was actually 0.2 quicker both times. So despite his little off, Bolton is still consistently faster than that number 83. Now, 0.2 at a time, 3 laps, that's not going to be enough. He might get a bit of the slipstream that'll help pull him in more, but even then, I think he's going to need bigger jumps to have a serious go at a fight for the win. And that's assuming that Fulton doesn't try and attack him and slow him down in the process.
Well, here's another perspective of this. If you're the guy in the lead, you really do not want to make any mistakes. So you can't slow down too much, but you can slow down enough just to make sure you're running clean, solid laps and not getting so close to the edge that you do make a mistake that puts you out of the running. So I think while Jad is 2 to 3 seconds slower, he's doing this on purpose, not necessarily to close, to let Bolton close it up, but to make sure that he doesn't make a really bad error and find himself off the podium completely.
So sort of the Alain Prost method, win as slowly as you can, essentially.
Exactly.
Well,
yeah, there was I think it was Richard Petty. How fast were you going? Just slow enough to win.
Yep. And, well, Duncan was only a 1/10 slower that time. So, yeah, definitely doing an excellent job with this one. And as they come down to Miller once more, Bolton probably starting to feel that he's a little bit closer, but knows that time is wasting here. He needs to try and make some sort of really big jump to try and catch up to him at this stage. Kelderman just behind and 4th, knowing he started on the podium. How aggressive is he going to be on BJ Fulton as well? Surely he doesn't want to lose out, considering I think Ezra's finished on the podium every race so far.
I think he's looking at his opportunities here. Watch as we close up into MG here. So coming down the hill, he's taking that right side where BJ is now having to defend, takes him a little bit off balance. This gets Ezra a good bit closer. So Kelderman able to be really tight up on that bumper this time as we go through that final corner down the straight. Ezra's putting himself in a very good position by playing some mind games with BJ.
So 2 more laps to go, as we were just a little shy there of the regular lap time on this one. Jad Duncan that time with a 28.5, definitely faster than any of the previous 3 laps, but Bolton hit his personal best at a 28 flat. Michael has suddenly decided it is time to go, and he's got essentially a lap and some change to do something with this speed.
That was also the fastest lap of the race. Bolton is Bolton. He is gonna catch Jad if it's the last thing he does. But, you know, it could be, you know, the order we normally do the interviews. He always ends up in that 3rd position, so he doesn't get to talk to me. I think he's just going to sit back and take second so we get to talk this time.
Oh, I see how it is. Yeah, gotta make sure you get to chat with his coach. But we'll see if Bolton is greased lightning or if, unfortunately, it's just a bit of damp weather here for him as he comes down through MG one last time. Things getting uncomfortably close for BJ Fulton as Ezra Kelderman could maybe have a chance to attack. We come through the penultimate turn and up towards Swan now.
As much as I'd love to talk to him, I don't. I want him to win this race. Oh, what happened to Rondeau there? Rondeau slowing dramatically. Looks like Dylan Scott came back around. I wonder if he was giving a position back. Meanwhile, back up at the front, 6/10 between Duncan and Bolton. Bolton really, really wants this win. I'd love to see him get it. Chad Duncan already has a win this time. Look at how close Michael Bolton is getting here. I think we're going to see an attempt for a pass coming up into Honda, possibly, as we look at him going through Stoner here.
Checkers or wreckers maybe for Bolton. Is he going to send it? He's close enough he could try, but so Chad Duncan knows that as well. He fends him off, covering the inside. He's shallow off the corner, though, and that could leave the door open for Michael Bolton, who again pokes his nose and can't quite get the overlap. This is going to be nerve-wracking. Maybe one final chance coming down into MG, but it is hard to pass there. If not, he's going to have to hope that the slipstream is enough to get him a snipe at the line.
Yeah, this is getting really tight. He's had a couple of chances there. How is Chad going to defend this? Bolton has two ways to go. Tries to look around the outside, going Buffalo Gals. Can he get the power down quickly enough? No, Bolton is still in P2. Chad Duncan able to pull away out of MG.
Oh, and he almost threw it away there, going wide through the penultimate turn, but thankfully it looks like he's going to be with it. He's slow, though. He has another little bobble. He could actually lose second place to BJ Fulton, but it is Chad Duncan who is your winner here in round 10. Bolton going to finish in second, and BJ Fulton will be third, just shy by a half a tenth of a second. Even Ezra Kelderman was within 700ths of BJ Fulton.
Wow, what a finish. That was crazy. We had 4 cars so tight right there, all within about 3/10 right there at the end. If it hadn't been for that little bobble, oh, wow. That is one crazy finish here in the POC.
That was fantastic. Top 4 were covered by 0.3 of a second, just about 0.4 of a second. And we're going to take one more look at this one, Michael. Look at this.
Look at that, the spread out. He's trying to, so you've got BJ there trying to cover off Kelderman. Meanwhile, Bolton trying to get a little bit of a maybe a slipstream out of Chad Duncan. Wow, what a finish. Great driving from all 4 drivers there.
Just unbelievable stuff. Well, that brings us to a little break here, but we're not done with the show. We'll have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews coming your way after this. Welcome back to Phillip Island Circuit. We saw a great race here for the Porsche Owners Club Series. And Jad Duncan gets himself another win. Like I said, he's been waiting a bit as he last had a victory in the very first round. But he had Michael Bolton following him home with only a quarter of a second between them. BJ Fulton and Ezra Kelderman squabbling to try and determine how the rest of the podium is settled. BJ won that race over Ezra. Ian Roche came home in fifth, quite a distance behind those top four, as Dustin Heindel will be P6, and then Dylan Scott was seventh. After that, Mark Rondeau was P8. Then you've got Will Castillo in ninth as Larry Haas finishes 10th, and John Molmeyer will round out our 11-car field. But I'm sure we'll have a very happy Jad Duncan to chat with now, finally returning to the top step. And Jad, we were saying it took you a number of rounds, but you finally got back here. How does it feel?
It feels good. That was fun.
It looked fun, but Michael was theorizing that maybe you were saving yourself a little bit at the end and managing your pace. Was that the case, or were you going as quick as you could to hold Michael back?
Well, it was a little of both. I was watching my tire temps. I wanted to keep them below about 205. So if they crept up, I definitely backed up and took it easy and did a little lifting in some of the high-speed corners so I didn't stress them out. So I did have a little in reserve if I needed one quick lap. I didn't expect me to get quite that close on that last lap, though. But it was fun. It was a lot of driving the mirrors and watching the action behind me.
Yeah, and that action also got pretty intense. How was the racing here? Is it proving pretty difficult to pass at this track? Because it seemed like as close as all of you were on pace, it was so hard to actually make something stick.
Well, other than Michael Dent, I don't think anyone was within closer than like a half a second or so. So I wasn't really expecting a dive bomb. So I wasn't involved in trying to pass or be passed very much. It was just kind of cruise around, because this track can bite you so easily in so many places. I was amazed how well everyone drove and kept it clean.
Yeah, likewise. I know I always race poorly here. It's such a challenge. But Jad, congratulations. That was a well-earned win.
Well, I thank you, and thank you to GSR. It was really fun listening to your reviews.
Thank you very much. That was Jad Duncan, our winner here today. Finally, after a long while, Michael's going to get to chat with Michael Bolton.
Well, it looks like the Bolton was Bolton. What happened there at the end, dude? You turned it on.
What's up, my man? Michael Johnson in the building. I honestly don't know how my eyeballs were working towards the end of that, because this track is so demanding and critical focus everywhere, and just happy to at least have the pace to put myself on the podium without any incidents in front of me. So got to give a shout out to you, Michael Johnson.
well, thank you. Appreciate that. Your pass on BJ, and then right after that, I swear, I'm like, just get your exit, man. And you nailed the exit after that and opened up like a half a second. Did you have my voice in your head when that was going on?
Well, my toes were tingling, and I was puckering, and we tracked out to the exit. I'm like, I hope there's a little bit of road here, and it just worked out. But I was definitely keeping you in the back of my mind, because a lot of the practice have been hotter track temps, and being honest, I've been struggling just overdriving the car there. So it was nice that I could have a little bit more wiggle room in the track temp and the tire temp. That definitely helped me. But I think also like slotting in behind BJ and having a really nice rhythm there got me to the point where protected the tires. And, when I saw the moment, I kind of went for it on BJ, and then the race at the end started coming towards me, and I'm like, okay, maybe we can get P1. So did not realize that the second gap that I had to BJ behind me closed up real quick when I was battling with Jad. So I was like, okay, I'll go for a dive here. Won't be that big of an issue. And next thing you know, I am
surprised.
Yeah, next thing you know, I'm really squirming towards the finish line. But yeah, I'm super happy with the result, and hard work and lessons pays off. So I don't know. Shout out to Michael Johnson.
I'll take it. So were you and BJ kind of plotting there for a little bit? Hey, let's work together. Let's catch up to Jad. Or was that just it fell into place like that and you took advantage of the opportunity when it showed?
Surprisingly, the comms were pretty silent, and I think BJ and I do a lot of close racing together. I trust him and he trusts me, so during the start of the race I was very comfortable with my bubble around me. But yeah, the comms were quiet. I think we just kind of intentionally worked together there and wasn't really trying to go for an overtake, but had a bad exit, took advantage. And man, when you're in P2 and you see the P1 car right in front of you, you're really hungry for it. But props to Jad and props to BJ. It was really good, great racing with both of them.
Yeah, fantastic job. So 2 weeks from now, P1, is that what we're seeing?
I don't know. I think we're gonna have to do a couple things before that, but fingers crossed, man.
We'll work on it. We'll work on it for sure. Yeah. So, hey, brilliant job out there. Beautiful racing. You really made a great show for us. Thanks for putting on a great show. Meanwhile, I believe we're gonna take a look. Joe Peak has RP3 with BJ.
Yep, BJ Fulton couldn't hold back Michael Bolton, although he tried to snipe him at the line. BJ, that had to be fun there at the end, getting so close.
Yeah, it was super fun. I can't believe how crazy close it was in the end. I saw him get a little twitch off that final corner. I had a good run, but then I didn't capitalize. I don't know what happened. I think I might have touched the rev limiter a little bit and lost my run on him.
That's frustrating to hear, but regardless, like I said, it gave us some excitement. You also had Ezra nearly overtaking you as well. How did you manage to not only pass him, but keep him behind all race?
Yeah, well, I mean, I got past him right off the green flag. I had a really good jump on the green, and so I was clear of him by turn 1, and I know it was just really hard to pass on this track, so I felt like pretty comfortable for most of the race.
Well, I'm glad you could find some comfort out on this track, because as I mentioned earlier, I'm never very good at this one. How are you though at Montreal? That is a place that definitely bites if you overstep.
Oh, I do like Montreal. It's one of my favorite tracks, so I hope to have another good result there.
Well, we'll look out for you on that one. Congratulations on another podium.
Thanks.
That was BJ Fulton, P3 here tonight in race number 10. Which is going to wrap us up with some big thank yous to, of course, our sponsors. Porsche, there is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Game Changer Wealth, helping you become a game changer with wealth. Thanks to the team today, Michael, Daniel, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. As we mentioned, next time out, we're heading up to Canada once again for Montreal. That'll be Monday, June 3rd at 11 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here. And until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.